Earth is charged with 47 counts: illegal weapons proliferation, treaty violations, cultural contamination, and existential disruption. The human shuttle docks at the Galactic Tribunal's spire, a crystalline tower piercing into orbit. Olivia Martinez steps out alone, no entourage, no weapons, carrying nothing but a battered leather briefcase. Inside the tribunal chamber, alien council members fill the crystalline gallery, murmuring with condescension.
They sent one lawyer. This will be over before the midday recess.
At the defense table, Olivia and her assistant, Lena Kowalski, sit composed amid stacks of annotated documents.
47 charges, each proven by our own evidence. Earth's defiance ends today.
This tribunal will now hear the case against the species known as humanity. Let the record show.
Let them be arrogant. I've prepared for this longer than they've known our name.
And so the trial of Earth begins, with its fate resting on the shoulders of one unassuming woman.
47 counts, each a scar on the fabric of civilized space. Humanity is a contagion.
His voice boomed, designed to stir fear rather than reason. Council members leaned forward, nodding as if already convinced.
And this single representative thinks she can deflect our evidence. It's an insult.
Quiet snickers rippled through the gallery. To the assembled delegates, Earth's defense was already an afterthought.
Let them laugh. Every joke sharpens the edge of what I am about to do.
Olivia rose and walked to the speaking circle, her heels the only sound. The chuckles died.
I will not deny what humanity has done. Instead, I will show that these charges apply equally to the council.
Prosecutor Tharn rolled all four eyes and leaned back, unimpressed.
The first charge, illegal weapons proliferation. The prosecution may proceed.
The true trial was underway, and her face revealed none of the reckoning she had planned.
We present Exhibit 1, intercepted schematics for kinetic bombardment platforms from Earth's orbital forges. This is war manufacturing on an unprecedented scale.
Holographic blueprints rotated above the chamber floor, each detail damning on its face.
Unambiguous proof of intent to destabilize the sector. The Council cannot ignore such aggression.
When Olivia's turn arrived, she approached the evidence podium without hesitation.
Your own filing, Exhibit 12, shows the Council approved mass driver exports to colonies within that same sector.
Objection. The defendant is inserting unrelated Council protocols into a clear violation.
Overruled. If the Council's own actions are mirrored, this tribunal must consider them.
Further, the specifications for these bombardment platforms were developed by the Council for Frontier Defense. Earth merely adapted them.
A wave of murmurs passed through the gallery. Several council members shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the implications. For the first time, Prosecutor Tharn's hand trembled as he called his next witness. By the second day of hearings, Olivia had dismantled 2 more charges with surgical precision.
This is absurd. She twists our own regulations to confuse the issue.
The prosecution's own evidence on treaty violations cites a precedent that exonerates Earth. Let me read it.
She turned to the exact page in her annotated statute book and read the passage without looking up. Lena Kowalski slid the next annotated page from the briefcase as soon as Olivia finished. A council delegate rose abruptly, demanding a recess due to procedural exhaustion.
Article 17, Section 4. No recess may be called while material evidence is under active review.
The motion is denied. This tribunal will proceed.
Tharn wiped sweat from his brow, his composure cracking as the day wore on. By the third day, the prosecution's case was already on its heels, and the council knew it.
The ruling in Vicor v. Council explicitly confirms the Council's absolute authority over weapons regulation in any sector.
I would like to read the next sentence of that ruling, if the prosecution has no objection.
She flipped to the page in her annotated book, her finger tracing the line. The silence was heavy.
Except where such regulation conflicts with the innate self-defense protocols of a sovereign species recognized by this body.
Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Council members exchanged startled glances, some whispering urgently.
That clause is a technicality. It was never intended to.
The words are clear. The defendant may continue citing the precedent in full.
Tharn's throat constricted. He gripped the edge of his table, knuckles paling. A red alert blinked on his datapad, a flagged contradiction in the prosecution's own argument. Prosecution strategy was now openly crumbling, and the council could no longer conceal its division. On the sixth day, the tribunal turned to the charge of cultural contamination.
Earth flooded the frontier with their entertainment, erasing indigenous values within a generation.
Lena Kowalski leaned over and handed Olivia a datapad with the council's own trade records.
I submit the Council's Galactic Commerce Act. Article 9 mandates cultural integration for all member species.
A holographic display revealed a secret council trade agreement, complete with cultural assimilation quotas.
That was a necessary measure. It's entirely different from Earth's reckless contamination.
Your own ambassador used the word aggressive. The Council's Act uses identical language for its integration programs.
Council members stirred, avoiding eye contact as the parallels grew undeniable. One delegate leaned forward, its expression shifting from arrogance to horrified recognition. By day's end, the charges against Earth were beginning to look like a confession the Council had written about itself. On the eighth day, the tribunal turned to its most abstract charge, existential disruption. The gallery leaned forward.
Humanity's mere existence has thrown the sector into chaos. They are a destabilizing plague.
Then, by that standard, the Council's own founding was an act of deliberate disruption.
She held up the Council's founding charter, its preamble a promise to overturn the old order.
We shall dissolve old boundaries, forge a new unity. That is existential disruption codified in law.
It was a noble mission, not chaos. The comparison is insulting.
Prosecutor, how does the Charter exempt itself from the definition it now uses against the accused?
Tharn's mouth opened and closed. Council members looked at each other, the silence damning.
They wrote the law as a weapon, but never considered it could be turned on them.
When the recess came, the charge of existential disruption hung over the council itself like an unspoken verdict. On the ninth day, Prosecutor Tharn shifted tactics, aiming for the advocate rather than the argument.
This human's knowledge of our law is unnatural. She must be an intelligence operative, not a legal representative.
I am certified under the Galactic Charter, Section 8. My qualifications are public record.
She produced the stamped certification, each page authenticated by the Interstellar Bar Association.
How could a single human, from a species barely a decade in the galaxy, learn centuries of law?
I had 14 months to prepare. That was time enough.
The statement hung in the air, heavy with implication. How had she learned so much in such a short time? Tharn drew back, his four eyes narrowing in frustration. The council members leaned forward, their earlier condescension replaced by wariness. The presider silenced the exchange with a wave, reminding the court that the defense's standing was not at issue. Tharn's attack had failed, but the question of why a human lawyer would invest 14 months in galactic law lingered like a fuse. The 10th day opened on treaty violations, the heaviest charges in the indictment.
Earth signed 11 treaties, then violated each one. The evidence is incontrovertible beyond any doubt.
I submit a secret amendment to the Council's own treaty, exempting senior members from identical restrictions.
Your Honor, this is a transparent forgery. The defense manufactures lies to distract.
The amendment bears the Council's own cryptographic seal. I have live verification from the Central Registry.
The gallery erupted in chaos. Council members rose, shouting objections and demands for immediate recess.
Order. This tribunal will review the submitted evidence and rule on its admissibility without disruption.
The secret amendment exposed a web of exemptions, protecting the very species that now sat in judgment. Tharn's composure broke entirely. He gripped his datapad, the frame creaking under his clenched fingers. By day's end, the council's credibility lay in ruins. and the defense showed no sign of stopping. After the session, Tharn found Martinez in a quiet corridor, shadows pressing close.
You've made powerful enemies today. This council does not forget. There are ways to protect yourself.
I am not here to be protected. I am here to finish what I started.
Tharn's jaw tightened. The threat had fallen flat. He turned and walked away without another word. Back at the defense table, Lena Kowalski approached with a datapad, her expression caught between worry and hope.
We're receiving encrypted support messages from 43 member worlds. They're watching live.
Good. The more eyes on this, the harder it will be for them to bury the truth.
On the 12th day, the final original charge was addressed. The prosecution's table was strewn with empty stimulant vials. Tharn's final objection was overruled. The council's case against Earth had collapsed entirely, but Olivia Martinez did not close her briefcase. The real case was only beginning. When the court reconvened, Olivia Martinez requested permission to present additional evidence before the charges were formally dismissed.
Your Honors, I ask the tribunal to consider this photograph as material to the proceedings.
She held up the image of a woman with a warm smile, a press badge clipped to her collar.
Her name was Charlotte. She was a journalist, and she was my sister. 15 months ago, a council border patrol executed her for asking too many questions.
Objection. This is inflammatory. The defense is using personal tragedy to manipulate the court.
The council's own report exonerated the patrol within 48 hours. No investigation, no accountability.
Overruled. The court will allow this evidence to establish the foundation of the defense's extensive preparation.
A heavy stillness fell. 14 months of relentless study, laid bare as one woman's promise to her murdered sister.
They thought I was a lawyer. I was always a sister keeping a vow.
Olivia described the 14 months she spent locked in her Chicago office, surrounded by data drives and annotated statutes.
Every night, I read until my eyes burned. Charlotte's photo kept me company.
The courtroom absorbed her words in complete silence. Lena Kowalski wiped a tear.
I learned their laws better than they knew them, because I wasn't just studying. I was hunting.
She turned to the council, her voice barely louder than a whisper, but it carried through the hall.
Your own charter gives you absolute power. That power killed my sister. It has killed many others.
She produced the patrol's exoneration document, pointing to the clause that sealed it with no review.
This is not justice. It's immunity. The 47 charges you brought against Earth are built on the same impunity.
Some council members looked down, unable to meet her gaze. The chamber no longer saw a defense attorney. They saw a reckoning taking legal form.
A single tragedy, however regrettable, does not justify this spectacle. The defense is grasping at shadows.
Martinez didn't flinch. She tapped her datapad, and a new holographic list materialized above the gallery.
Your Honors, these are 13 journalists from 9 different species, all killed within the last 3 galactic cycles by council patrols.
The names scrolled in cold light, each appended with a date and a closed file.
These were isolated incidents, regrettable accidents in the execution of legitimate security operations.
I have the council's own internal patrol guidelines. Section 12 authorizes lethal force against any unverified data transmission.
She displayed the guideline beside the list, the correlation undeniable. Council members recoiled as the pattern became clear. This wasn't oversight. It was systematic suppression.
Every one of these journalists died asking the same questions my sister asked, and everyone was silenced by this council's unaccountable authority.
The presider's gavel struck 3 times before the uproar could be contained. The motion to dismiss the charges against Earth was now the least of the council's worries. As the chamber absorbed the evidence, a coded alert flashed across Lena Kowalski's datapad. Her face drained.
They're holding an emergency vote behind closed doors. If it passes, Earth gets sanctioned before you can finish.
They're trying to slam the door before I can walk through it.
Without a word, she rose and strode toward the council chamber, briefcase tight in her grip. The doors loomed.
Your Honor, I invoke Article 3, Section 5. No external action may be taken against an accused species while trial is active.
Tharn leaped up, his protest dying in his throat, as the Presitor raised a luminous hand.
The Charter is unambiguous. This emergency vote cannot proceed while this tribunal deliberates. The session is reinstated.
Council members exchanged furious looks. Their last procedural trap had just snapped shut on them.
Now it's my turn.
She set her briefcase on the table and flipped the latches. Inside lay a single motion, crisp and waiting. She lifted the document from the briefcase, its title visible to the entire chamber, Counter-Indictment of the Galactic Council.
Your Honors, under the same statutes used against Earth, I move to indict the Galactic Council guilty of the same 47 charges.
You cannot do this. A defendant cannot indict the prosecution body. It's procedurally impossible.
I just did.
This motion is unprecedented. However, the Charter does not prohibit a counter-indictment. This court will consider its admissibility.
The gallery erupted. Council members shouted, rose, and gestured wildly, but the presider's gavel silenced them. Lena slid the finalized motion into the court's scanner, her hands steady despite the uproar. Tharn turned to the presider, his voice cracking. "This will destroy the council," he protested.
The Charter is clear. This tribunal will deliberate on the admissibility of the motion. The court stands in recess for 1 hour.
As the recess began, Olivia remained standing, her eyes never leaving the motion now pending before the highest authority in the galaxy. The gallery dispersed in hurried silence. Tharn shot one last glare at Martinez before the chamber doors sealed behind him. Olivia sat down slowly, the quiet immense. She reached into her briefcase and withdrew the worn photograph.
I am almost there, Charlie. Just a few more hours.
You'll hold them accountable. Promise me.
Those 6 words had driven 14 months of sleepless study. They now echoed through the empty hall. In chambers, the presider and archivists pored over the charter, tracing every clause that could bar or permit the motion. The tension was a physical weight. On 100 worlds, billions watched the silent feeds, waiting.
Whatever they decide, you've already won the galaxy's ear.
I didn't come for the ear. I came for the verdict.
The hourglass of the recess drained. Somewhere, the presider reached a decision. The presider's podium glowed as the delegates took their seats, the air thick with dread. Tharn's jaw was set in defiance, but his 4 eyes betrayed cracks of dread.
After review, this motion is admissible. The Charter's Section 12 allows any party to bring charges if evidence exists.
The words sliced through the silence. The Galactic Council was now the defendant.
This is a perversion of the court's purpose. The council cannot be tried by its own laws.
Prosecutor Tharn, you are now defense counsel for the Galactic Council. Prepare your case.
Tharn's datapad clattered to the table. His mantle of authority crumbled like dead ash. Olivia rose smoothly, her annotated statutes already open to the first charge. She nodded once to Lena.
Your Honors, I am ready to proceed with the evidence against the Council.
The council members looked at one another with raw panic, their decades of impunity shattering. The days that followed were a mirror image of the trial before, with Olivia standing where the accusers had stood.
Charge by charge, I will demonstrate the Council's own violations, using evidence already filed by the prosecution against Earth.
The council was acting in the interest of galactic stability.
One by one, the charges collapsed. The council's own data, rulings, and secret amendments became instruments of their undoing.
Section 9 of the Charter, as noted in the prosecution's brief against humanity, defines this very action as a treaty breach.
Tharn raised a hand to object, then let it fall. The words he had used against Earth now sealed his own lips. On the final day, the presider asked if any council representative wished to speak in their defense. A senior delegate rose, voice hollow, and accepted the court's findings.
On 31 of the 47 charges, this tribunal finds the Galactic Council guilty.
For the first time in galactic history, a ruling body was tried, convicted, and undone by its own words.
By the Charter's mandate, this convicted council shall dissolve. A neutral oversight body will restructure governance.
The holographic seal of the council fractured, its shards drifting into darkness. Council members were escorted from the gallery, some with heads bowed, others trembling with disbelief. Tharn stood frozen at his table, his 4 eyes vacant, the weight of his failed prosecution pressing him into stillness.
Olivia, you did it. The council dissolved.
This is for you, Charlie. Every sleepless night, every page.
In the gallery, some alien delegates erupted in cheers, while others sat in stunned silence, the old order crumbling around them. Olivia closed her briefcase, the latches snapping shut with a final, quiet click. She stood, the golden light of the presider's podium outlining her solitary figure against the emptying hall. The trial of Earth was over, but the galaxy would not soon forget the human who held a council accountable. As she exited the chamber, Lena fell into step beside Olivia, datapad glowing with incoming transmissions.
43 worlds have sent official thanks. They're calling it the trial of the council.
Olivia took the datapad, scrolling through the names. She paused on one that was not there. An ambassador stepped forward from the crowd and extended a hand. His people had once voted to sanction Earth. Now, with eyes lowered, he simply said thank you. Olivia shook his hand briefly. Her mind was already elsewhere on the photo in her jacket. She turned away, walking toward the docking bay where the human shuttle waited. Lena hurried after her, still reading messages. There's one from a journalist on Ophira. It says, Olivia held up a hand, not in dismissal, but in exhaustion. Not yet. The thank you cards could wait. For now, the silence was enough. The shuttle landed at O'Hare without ceremony. 14 months of preparation, a galaxy shaken, and she walked back into the office like any other Tuesday. On her desk, a mound of cards, holographic, metallic, organic, the stationery of 40 species, all bearing the same silent weight. She lifted one that bore a handwritten note in awkward English. For the sister of Charlotte, we are sorry, from a family on Ophira. Their journalist son had been on her list. The silence stretched. She opened a drawer and withdrew the worn photograph of Charlotte, placing it beside the card.
We did it, Charlie. We held them accountable.
The thank you cards from 40 worlds would wait. She had a graveside to visit. She stood, sliding the photo into her coat. Her briefcase was lighter than it had been in 14 months. She walked out into the Chicago evening, unnoticed by the crowds, a changed galaxy spinning above her. The grave waited, and so did the silence she had finally earned. She passed through the cemetery gates as the sun sank low. The headstone was simple, Charlotte Martinez, and the dates that bracketed too short a life. She knelt and placed the holographic card against the stone, its alien script glowing faintly in the dusk. Beside it, she laid the worn photograph of Charlotte, the one that had kept her company through every night of study. She didn't speak. The silence was complete, and that was the point. For 14 months, she had filled the silence with statutes and arguments. Now she let it be. The skyline of Chicago traced the horizon, lights beginning to flicker on. She rose slowly, her knees aching, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She turned and walked back toward the gate, the city's hum replacing the quiet. Behind her, on a grave, a promise had been kept. The galaxy would remember the trial, but for Olivia Martinez, the verdict was always personal.